In 1913, a girl was getting ready for a party. She looked in the mirror, got frustrated, grabbed two handkerchiefs, and accidentally created something that would make millions of dollars. Just one problem. She didn't get rich from it. And somehow, a politician later helped invent the thong. Yeah, like this story gets weird. The modern bra and underwear didn't just happen. They were born out of pain, rebellion, and one very expensive mistake. Today we're breaking down who actually invented them, why corsets basically tortured people, and how one small decision changed fashion forever. And trust me, what people wore before this will make you uncomfortable just hearing about it. Before we talk about invention, we need to talk about the problem. Imagine not being able to breathe properly, just to look fashionable. Back in the 1800s, getting dressed in most Western societies wasn't simple as it is today. First came a soft linen chemise against the skin, then the steel corset was tightly laced over it, and then the main dress on top of it. This wasn't modern shapewear, and it was built using rigid canvas, reinforced stitching, and strips of whalebone or steel. Women were tightly laced into these structures to create an extreme hourglass shape. Some corsets reduced waist to as little as 18 inches, and it gets worse. These corsets didn't just temporarily shape the body, they actually reshaped it over time. Internal organs were compressed. Ribs could deform, lung capacity was reduced. Some women could only take shallow breaths. That's why fainting became so common. Not because people were dramatic, because they literally weren't getting enough oxygen. Now imagine doing everyday things like sitting, eating, walking, all while feeling like your body is in a permanent squeeze. And beyond comfort, these garments weren't just about fashion. They were about fitting into society's idea of the perfect body. For a long time, women weren't dressing for themselves. They were dressing to meet societal expectations. And then comes the most awkward part. Using the bathroom. Because dresses were so massive and layered, removing them wasn't practical. So instead, women wore something called split drawers, loose undergarments that were completely open in the middle. Yeah, it sounds strange now, but at the time it was the only functional solution. By the early 1900s, things started changing. Women were working, cycling, moving more freely. And at this point, clothing wasn't just about style anymore, it was about freedom. And these steel cages, they weren't just uncomfortable anymore, they were holding people back. All this situation needed was one small moment. That moment came in 1913. Meet Mary Phelps Jacob, a rich American writer and publisher at that time. One day, she was getting ready for a party in New York. She had a beautiful, lightweight evening dress, but when she wore it with her corset, it completely ruined the look. The rigid bones and ribbons were visible through the fabric. At that moment, she made a simple decision. I'm not going to wear it today. She grabbed two silk handkerchiefs, some pink ribbon, and a needle and thread, and created something entirely new. And then at the party, something interesting happened. Other women noticed the girl immediately. She wasn't stiff, she wasn't uncomfortable. She could actually move, breathe, and look natural. And suddenly, guess what? Everyone wanted one. I mean, every woman, not men, obviously. Then in 1914, she patented her invention and named it the backless brassiere. This is officially considered the birth of the modern bra. Then she started her own company called Fashion Form Brassiere in Boston. But as you all know, running a business wasn't easy, and she also had some conflicts with her husband as well, around her business name or something. And eventually, she sold her patent to Warner Brothers Corset Company for just $1,500, around $45,000 today. At the time, maybe it seemed reasonable, but over the next few decades, that company made around $15 million from her design, one of the biggest missed opportunity moments in fashion history. And interestingly, bras didn't replace corsets overnight. For years, many women still continued wearing corsets because that's what society expected. Mary created the idea, but early bras were still very basic. They didn't shape or support very well. They were more like flat fabric bands. Then came the 1920s, a cultural shift known as the flapper movement, which became known for bobbed hair, knee-length dresses, smoking, drinking, and driving. They embraced a liberated urban lifestyle, signaling a rebellion against Victorian constraints, and a shift toward modern, independent femininity. Women started embracing a more natural, relaxed body shape, which made bras far more practical than rigid corsets. Around the same time, a dressmaker and businesswoman named Ida Rosenthal made a breakthrough. She noticed that early bras ignored one simple fact. People have different shapes and sizes. So she introduced a game-changing concept called cup sizes. For the first time, undergarments were designed to support, enhance, and fit properly, instead of just flattening everything. And she founded the bra company called Maidenform, which went on to make billions throughout its journey, and was eventually acquired by Hanes Brands in 2013 for hundreds of millions of dollars. But even then, finding the right fit wasn't easy. Standard sizing took years to improve, and many people still wore uncomfortable sizes. At this point, bras became more than clothing. They became engineering solutions. A bra works using tension, weight distribution, and structural support. Think of it like a miniature suspension bridge. In fact, in the 1940s, aviation engineer Howard Hughes even applied airplane design principles to create a more supportive bra design. Yes, aerospace-level thinking for a bra. In the 1920s, dresses became shorter, and suddenly, old baggy undergarments became visible. Underwear became smaller, more fitted, elastic-based, transitioning from loose drawers to modern briefs. And now, the strangest part of this entire story, the thong. If you don't know, a thong is basically a type of minimal underwear, or bikini bottom, designed with minimal fabric coverage, a narrow strip at the back, just enough fabric in the front, and almost no visible lines under clothing. In simple terms, it's an underwear designed to stay almost invisible. And today, people usually wear it for tighter outfits, comfort preference, or to avoid visible panty lines. Basically, maximum function with minimum fabric. And weirdly enough, that exact same logic is what created it in the first place. The year is 1939. New York City? The World's Fair is in full swing. And somehow the performances were considered too revealing to some chief guests. The city's mayor wasn't happy, but the audience, like you and me, they were way too happy, especially men. So the mayor ordered performers to cover up. But performers didn't want to lose their audience, so they found a workaround. They designed a garment that technically followed the rules, while using the absolute minimum amount of fabric possible. And just like that, the thong entered mainstream Western fashion. Not as a style choice, but as a loophole. Now here's something surprising. The final decline of corsets didn't just come from fashion trends. It came from war. During World War I, the government encouraged women to stop buying corsets because they used too much metal, and that metal was needed for war. Later in World War II, this shift became even stronger. This single shift saved around 28,000 tons of metal, enough to build multiple battleships. At the same time, more women entered the workforce, and they needed clothing that allowed movement. Corsets simply couldn't keep up. And just like that, corsets disappeared. Bras became the new standard. Then came new materials like nylon in the late 30s, and later spandex. These materials made undergarments lighter, stretchier, and more comfortable. And innovation didn't stop there. In the 1970s, the introduction of the sports bra changed everything again, especially for active lifestyles. And over time, lingerie evolved into a global industry worth billions of dollars. And the trend today reflects the original goal again: comfort, sports bras, bralettes, seamless designs, a return to simplicity. And interestingly, in recent years, some women have started moving away from bras altogether, choosing comfort and personal preference over tradition. So think about it. The bra exists because a teenager refused to be uncomfortable. The thong exists because of a political complaint. And modern underwear exists because people got tired of suffering for fashion. Next time you get dressed, remember this: it took centuries of discomfort, innovation, and one very unlucky business decision, just to make everyday life a little more comfortable. And be honest, would you survive wearing a corset for a day? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoy watching the weird history behind everyday things, make sure to like and hit subscribe.